Jason was flying an aircraft when a loud bang caught his attention. He quickly turned to the plane's windows, trying to understand what was happening. Birds were attacking the plane, and he was doing his best to shake them off without risking damage to the engines. However, the birds grew more aggressive with each attempt. Jason couldn't figure out why the birds were acting this way, and the situation quickly worsened. Inside the cabin, passengers began to grow anxious. Jason assured them everything was under control, but he was increasingly unsure of how to handle the situation. As the number of birds attacking the plane kept increasing, Jason tried to contact flight control but was unable to get through. The birds blocked the plane's windows, turning the cabin into a dark, unsettling environment. Jason struggled to maintain control, attempting to gain altitude, but the birds kept pushing the plane downward. Despite his efforts, Jason realized it was futile to climb higher. The plane was descending dangerously toward a city, but he managed to steer it away toward the countryside. The situation was dire, and Jason knew he had to get the plane to an airport for an emergency landing. Eventually, flight control instructed him to redirect to a nearby smaller airstrip, but the birds continued to strike the plane, causing small cracks in the windows. With emergency services en route, Jason fought to keep the plane in the air. As he approached the airstrip, more birds emerged from the nearby forest and attacked the plane again, especially targeting the engines. Jason's anxiety grew as the plane started to shake, and soon, one of the engines caught fire. The passengers screamed in panic, and Jason realized there was only one option left: an emergency water landing. Jason aimed for a body of water in the distance, calculating that it was their best chance for survival. The plane landed roughly but intact, avoiding a catastrophic crash. Afterward, the crew rushed to evacuate everyone as the plane began to sink. While some passengers panicked and tried to exit first, they were attacked by birds. Thankfully, the Coast Guard arrived to rescue everyone from the water, though the birds continued to circle the wreck. The Coast Guard attempted to get closer to the wreck, but as they did, the birds grew even more aggressive, attacking the boats. Despite Jason's warnings, the crew persisted, but when they reached the wreck, they too were forced to retreat in fear. Back on land, everyone was puzzled by the birds' behavior and what might be inside the plane to provoke such a violent response. The Coast Guard called for backup as the birds continued to swarm, ensuring the area remained unsafe for close inspection. Jason, drawing from his education, suggested to the Coast Guard that they use sound to scare off the birds that had attacked the plane. The Coast Guard acted immediately, blasting high-pitched noises through their speakers, which caused the birds to flee into the forest. Knowing that the birds would return if the sound stopped, the Coast Guard continued blasting while guiding the teams to attach cables to the plane and successfully tow it out of the water. As the Coast Guard worked, the police arrived to investigate the situation. Jason, being responsible for the plane, was questioned by the police. He explained that it was a routine flight he had made many times before, but the birds had attacked the plane, specifically targeting the luggage compartment. Jason believed this was a crucial clue in solving the mystery of the incident. The police then began questioning the passengers about their luggage. While most passengers cooperated, one passenger stood out as suspicious. He was evasive with his answers, contradicting himself multiple times, and seemed unwilling to discuss his luggage. The police grew more suspicious and ran a background check on him, discovering that his passport was fake. The only way to identify him was through his fingerprints. The fingerprint check led to a surprising revelation. The man was a convicted felon who had just been released. The government had sealed his documents, which raised even more alarms. The police now needed to determine what he was transporting and why the birds had reacted so aggressively. Meanwhile, the plane was finally removed from the water, and a research team was dispatched to investigate further. The research team entered the plane and immediately heard strange sounds coming from the luggage area. Upon investigating, they found several suitcases emitting the same disturbing sounds. When they opened one of the suitcases, they discovered the man was smuggling exotic birds. It turned out that the man had been previously arrested for smuggling exotic animals, and he resumed his illegal activities after his release. The birds had attacked the plane because they could hear the smuggled birds calling for help. Jason was devastated, but relieved that the man was caught and would be charged. The trial brought him emotional closure, knowing that everyone was safe.